something. Why is
It's your
Tyson
cop,
still on the force when he killed Malcolm right here?
That's still on the force. You gotta pick up that question right here. Thank you. That's a good
We
question.
didn't get no justice for that. No justice.
Nothing happened. It starts with him. It starts with him. You be a leader and show us what's up.
I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to.
Like you said, we're gonna meet up later.
The thing I want to tell
Can you try to respond about why I get attacked? Do you know that? If there's mostly the cops, why do I get attacked?
You gotta give me a chance to speak.
I'm asking you.
I know, but you gotta give me a chance.
Okay, I'm giving you a chance.
Stop being rowdy, let him talk.
The thing for us to be able to come up with solutions is to have good dialogue. That means listen and talk. Give me a chance. So I've been a chief
How do you stand over somebody while they're on the ground and continue to empty your clip?
I want to hear what he has.
4 years ago,
And he's still working for them.
But you're still here working for
But that's
nothing.
why we're here today, so they know the truth. Yeah, he can't be held
And
accountable.
nothing for
you
him.
gotta give me a chance.
At all.
We are, but you're
At all. At all. At all. But none of that over here. Floyd, he's literally, he's there. Where's the guy that killed
Let me just talk to you because I'm So look,
So you know what I mean?
I'm looking for the chief. Where'd the chief go? Chief, we're talking about the evidence. So, unfortunately, COVID happened. But we cannot do that.
Thank everybody.
We are going to put the evidence together and put it on the internet instead. But I thought tonight would be good to tell you a little bit about what happened to Malcolm that night, so that you know the truth. So that you realize that the mayor, the current mayor, sold you a bill of goods.
As always.
He didn't tell you the truth when he said that Tyson Barnes was near death, when he was in stable condition in the hospital, when the knife supposedly punctured his lung, right? When Malcolm repeatedly stabbed him. That isn't true. The evidence does not support that. You can see on this board in the lower left-hand corner a picture of this alleged stab wound for Tyson Barnes. You can see that Rhode Island Hospital, when they said it was a 1 centimeter superficial wound, knew what they were talking about. They told the truth. The pictures above it are his white t-shirt that he wore closest to his body. There isn't one drop of blood on that t-shirt, Chief. I wonder why. How does someone stab someone with that kind of knife, get blood like that on that knife, and not get one drop of blood on the t-shirt?
I'm thinking maybe self-inflicted.
So, it begs the question, how did that happen?
Self-inflicted.
Now, you can read, there's an email from the district attorney to the Mass State Trooper who was in charge of this alleged investigation. And you can see that that isn't true and that they're concerned because the medical examiner said all of Malcolm's wounds were distant wounds. They were not close-up wounds. Malcolm was shot 3 times in the back. Chief, if I come at you with a knife, and I'm not suggesting I would, and I am 5 to 7 feet from you and you take out your gun and shoot me, I would expect that you would shoot me in the front, not the back. As some famous TV show, which I can't remember the name, this cop shoots somebody in the back and the guy turns around and says, "Hey, you shot me in the back." And the cop said, "If you wanted to be shot in the front, you'd have run at me, not from me." Malcolm was running from the police.
Wow.
He didn't want anything to do with the police. So there's shell casing, the furthest one found from Malcolm, 45 feet down here. 45 feet. Now he fires the first 3 shots. Detective Sylvia says that he fired his taser first, Chief. That's not true. Taser, the company that does your tasers in your department, calculated the time that that taser was fired. that taser was fired in the middle of the third and fourth shot.
Wow.
It was fired after Malcolm had 3 bullet holes in his back.
Disgusting.
We know that because we have the times of each one of those shots through ShotSpotter. We also know that Detective Sylvia was down there because if you look at this car was down there. It's got a bullet hole right here, and that comes from Sylvia shooting in this direction. But perhaps the most chilling thing, Chief, is Detective Fonseca. He fires the last 3 shots.
Wow.
Now, Detective Fonseca says, and I want to quote this, just so I make sure I get it right.
Right? And listen to us. That's what we need your help.
Up there. Detective Fonseca says, I was actually going to run over and just tap him with the baton, but I don't know. What he's talking about is after Sylvia pumped 3 bullets in his back, Malcolm fell to the ground right here. And then they say Malcolm got up and he tried to come at the officer again.
Wow.
Detective Fonseca says in his own words, I could have gone up and hit him with a baton. Instead, he draws his weapon, fires 3 shots, one of them striking him in the right side of his head and exiting the left side, killing him instantly right here. As Fonseca stood just in back of where that young lady is in the blue over there.
Wow.
And all, and all this is because of the handshake. Because the gang unit is up there in Rockdale Ave, and they got their camera over there, and they are watching. And they see Malcolm doing this handshake, and they say, we don't know who this kid is. So Sergeant Safioleas says, hey, why don't you 4 go and roll up on these kids? Find out who they are. And he says, roll up, Chief. I don't know what that means in police parlance, but what does roll up mean? Go and roll up on these kids. Find out who they are. And Sergeant Safioleas says, I'll stay behind and I'll watch. I'll get everything on camera. And if you guys need help, I'll call the police. I think you meant call for help, because they are the police.
Nice.
But he did say he called for the police. Now, what happens? When they leave the station, those 4 police officers, Barnes, Brown, Fonseca, and Sylvia, do you think Safioleas watched them on camera and got everything recorded?
No.
No,
Shut off?
absolutely not.
Turn that shit right off.
And the reason why, he says, because he had to go to the bathroom, Chief.
Oh.
Now, I tried to get into the gang unit as part of this civil suit to see how far the bathroom was from his computer, but they wouldn't let me in.
How
I
far
don't know
is
why, but they wouldn't let me in.
it? How far is the bathroom, Chief?
That's a good question, Chief. How far would he have to go for the bathroom, Chief? Because you are supporting these people, so show your support.
They still patrol over here.
Okay, so we don't know, but anyway, the state trooper interviewing him. Hold up. The state trooper interviewing him said, didn't you take your radio with you? Now, keep in mind, Chief Provencher has said that the goal is to rid the streets of thugs. And he does use the word thugs in his high energy patrol initiative, and it's right there. So, you thugs here who live here, I'm speaking to you.
Wow.
You are dangerous. Lots of violence. Now, Sergeant Safioleas just sent 4 men to roll up on a kid they don't know. You would think he would want to stay and honor his commitment to his men to keep them safe. But no, he goes to the bathroom and he leaves his radio. What a coincidence. Now, there are some who say that he would not have caught the shooting on camera, and that is correct. However, he would have caught Malcolm leaving the basketball court with Adam walking across the street. He would have caught Sylvia and Fonseca flying up Middle Street, and Barnes and Brown coming down Cedar Street. He would have seen all of that, and that would have been clear. One of the things that we did was we found out, and this is an interesting fact, that the DA's office, Sam Sutter, sends over an assistant district attorney to Temple Landing and gets their video. That assistant district attorney ordered the state trooper to format Temple Landing's hard drive, making it impossible for anybody to get any video of that night.
Wow.
We were able, because a judge ordered the district attorney's office to turn over those videos. Why, right? If New Bedford wants to heal, you gotta tell the truth.
Yes.
You
Yes.
cannot hide behind lies. The mayor has to come out and say, you're right. This is not a life-threatening injury. And the chief has to come out and tell the truth about what happened that night. You can't heal unless the truth is told.
Exactly.
The city did a great job, and so did Sam Sutter, of disparaging Malcolm. Malcolm was 15 years old. He's a kid. He had a difficult life. He was going through some struggles. I get it. A lot of kids do. But they talked about his school. They talked about his problems. They talked about his mental health. They talked about his family. They talked about finding marijuana in his system. But, Chief, for some reason, nobody talked about Detective Barnes and what he was on that night.
Yeah.
Nobody. Nobody. The court ordered that he produce prescriptions for some of that stuff. The court had to send a subpoena to the doctor. And they never appeared because they don't exist.
Wow.
Ask him about that.
Now, the other thing,
How do
Chief, Detective Barnes had a restraining order. No indication that he had to give up his weapon. Why is that? Why didn't the city talk about him? And I tell you that Detective Barnes played a pivotal role. Many people have been told that they were out, the police were here patrolling. And then Malcolm, who was this wild kid who wanted to kill cops, attacked them. Well, that ain't true.
He's a 50.
Here's what happened. Here's the truth. The truth is that Brown, Detective Brown, his own words, says he approaches the two kids. And he puts his hands on them and he guides them to a car. At no time did Malcolm commit a crime. They admit, the defendants admit, no crime. The court ruled the stop was illegal. They had no reason, no legal justification to put their hands on Malcolm. That's in Judge McGuire's order, Chief. And Malcolm wiggled away. He didn't hit. He didn't strike. He didn't kick. He didn't spit. He didn't do anything to Detective Brown. So my question is, if Malcolm was this kid hell-bent on hurting cops, why doesn't he do something to Detective Brown? Why? Because Malcolm wasn't hell-bent on hurting cops. Malcolm was hell-bent on defending himself. And here's why I say that. Because in Detective Brown's own words, Chief, Detective Tyson Barnes ran after Malcolm when he was running, caught up with him, grabbed him by the shoulders, and drove him into that building. And Detective Brown says, and it's here, drove him into that building. Took a 15-year-old kid and drove him in that building. For what? For why? What legal reason did he have to put his hands on that kid at that moment? And at that moment, at 8:36 at night, it's dark. And this guy is driving this kid into a building. No kid in the struggle ensued. What would you expect? Huh? What? And yet, Tyson Barnes is still a cop.
Wow.
Why?
I thought we had a state.
So now, imagine this now, because this is something they didn't tell you. Because
But I
of this
thought
one
once you get a
centimeter
restraining order, you're
superficial
ordered to
wound,
give up your gun.
supposedly, hold on, supposedly, Malcolm has this knife in his waistband in a sheath. Supposedly, he takes out the knife out of the sheath and hangs on to the sheath because the sheath and the knife are found right here in Malcolm's pool of blood. But at the same time, he, a 50-year-old kid, is able to draw Tyson Barnes, who you can see, he's got some nice pecs. I wish I had those pecs. Big guy, strong guy, able to, he let a kid, supposedly, put his arm around him and bring him in against his will. I don't know what universe that happened, but it ain't this one. Okay? Because I tell you, if I were to take this guy right here, right, and put my arm around him, try and drive him to me, I'm gonna get popped. It ain't gonna happen. He's a big guy, right?
So he took a kid
He's
in
gonna
his car
bury me.
and drove him into the.
Try to put him in the car.
Tried to put
And
him
then
in
they
the
drive,
frisking him
so
if he had a weapon.
supposedly he drives it to him and stabs him. Now Barnes says, I fell back because I was injured.
Hello?
And when the shooting starts, when supposedly Malcolm is within 5 to 7 feet of Detective Sylvia with the knife raised and going to stab Detective Sylvia, Barnes says, because he's injured, he's been put out of commission. I don't know how, but he puts his hands over his head because he's afraid of the ricochet. That's why Detective Barnes doesn't shoot Malcolm. I hope. Can you turn that around for a second? In case you have any questions about how I know where Detective Fonseca's shell casings were and how I know where Detective Sylvia's shell casings were, this is what's called total station, and the police use this a lot. And it's a device where they set it down and they take a GPS location of each piece of evidence, and then out comes this map. And on this map are the shell casings of Detective Sylvia and Detective Fonseca, as well as the final resting place of Malcolm. I hope that you watch the video of this evidence. I hope the chief, if he's truly committed to healing this community, looks at the evidence and takes action.
Arrest the police.
I hope that the mayor hears me, and I hope that the mayor comes out and says to the people in New Bedford, I told you, what I told you was wrong. This is the truth, because the mayor, the one you elected, owes you the truth.
Yes.
He owes you an explanation.
Be this way.
What?
If the mayor gave a shit about this community, the community would not be this way and we would not have the issues that we have today.
So, I would also hope that someone else looking at this evidence would invite prosecution for filing false police report against the police. One thing the defendants did which was a mistake, I think,
First degree murder.
was they had the police officers sign an affidavit under the pains and penalties of perjury just a couple years ago that their police reports were true. That starts the statute of limitations. So you got 6 years. 6 years. 4 more to go. I wonder what will happen to these officers.
Justice for Malcolm.
What about the DA? Is the DA criminal too?
Oh yeah.
They all gone now.
The whole system needs to be
All right,
rebuilt.
so listen, one last thing I want to say to you, okay? We want the truth to get out about Malcolm because that is the only way this community can heal. Also, I want all of you to know, right? You're not helpless. You're not helpless. When you feel as if you have been wrong, the time to argue is not in front of the police. They will not listen. The time to do that is afterwards. You either get a lawyer, write a letter, go to your council person, go to the chief because he's extended you an invitation. Although I'm not so sure about their internal affairs, I can't talk about that because the defendants have prohibited me from talking about that, but I would love to talk about that. The violence is not a solution. Violence will not get you anywhere. Violence will be an excuse for people to use to dismiss you. Don't use violence. I understand why there are riots. Martin Luther King said that riots are the protest of the unheard. But you are being heard today, and you can be heard tomorrow. You just need to do it the right way. Some of you guys need to start running for the offices around here, because some of these city councilors were very content, too content, to accept the blind word of the city and Sam Sutter. Those are ways in which you can make change. Those are the right ways to make change. Thank you.
Thank you.
It doesn't even look like a stab.
No. And
Looks like it's just
where's
a
the
straight
blood?
little cut. There's no blood on it.
So if the mayor said he went to the hospital and saw that, then he's lying even worse.
Definitely.
No, he's definitely lying.
And this is after going to the court and hearing this, that there was a centimeter. I stopped him at a school committee meeting, and I tell him, are you going to arrest these officers? And he said, oh, what are you talking about? I was like, the officer was never stabbed. He was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I went to the hospital, and he certainly looked stabbed to me.
Really? Well, this is it, man. You make your own conclusions. This is it. That's what he's talking about.
So a group of us are trying to organize to create a police accountability and stuff around these kind of issues. And we're going to have a Zoom at 6 o'clock. We're going to get on and we're discussing action steps and demands outside of just marching. But like, what are the demands? And one of the, like, some of the goals we're talking about is the civilian review committee with subpoena.
Yeah, it's not gonna. We tried to get that. They won't have anything to do with that.
So we were thinking about like steps that we could take as a community to start challenging and supporting.
Yeah, run for office, man. Run for office. Change from within.
Stay safe and have a great night.
Chief?
I can't shake your hand, but I will give you a little nub. Nice to see you as always. Okay, stay healthy.
Any answers in terms of why they're still, when they're going to be arrested, or why they're still on the force?
So I think he started talking about that. The DA, that's in the DA's office. It would have been up to the DA. And right. So that was before I was the chief, when that was all done.
So now that they're on and all this information came up that shows.
I have a hard time understanding.
I said, now that this has all come out and they're still on the force, why are they still on the force?
I think Mr. Bryson was talking about, I don't know if he said Tom Quinn was looking at it again. I don't know if that's what he said.
No, I don't think, but like,
when I came in, that case was already closed. That case was closed.
But you can reopen.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
You can reopen. Those cops signed an affidavit on the pains and penalties of perjury. Filing a false police report is a crime. You can reopen it. You have the power to reopen that investigation. So now we'll see how genuine you really are.
Well, I am genuine, and you can.
Words speak louder.
Mr. Bryson,
Actions speak
Mr.
louder than
Bryson,
words.
I'm not going to get into an argument because that's not what I'm here for.
I'm
Okay?
not. No
I'm
argument.
here because I want to be. I'm here because I am genuine. I'm here because I care, and I'm here about changing this community and our police department.
Words
So I
are
understand
meaningless.
that.
Actions speak louder.
When you say that,
Open the investigation.
I am. Okay.
All right.
Have a good day. Stay safe. Take care.
Good. You heard that. Chief is going to open the investigation.
That's not what I said, Mr.
Oh, you see, you're not going to open the investigation.
I didn't say either
Wait a
way.
minute, though. Why won't you
We're
open the
not on
investigation?
trial here. We're here for a reason.
It's no trial, just a question.
Have a good day.
As a concerned member of this community. Well, there you have it. There's his concern.
He certainly said.
Malcolm Gracia! 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 Malcolm Gracia!
Malcolm Gracia! Y'all killed him! That's what the fuck happened! Mind your business!
Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds!
Fire Barnes!
Fire Bonds!
Sylvia! Sylvia! Fire who? Fire Sylvia!
Fire Sylvia! Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds!
Fire Barnes!
Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds!
Fire Barnes!
Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds! Fire Bonds!
Fire Barnes!